alert, advocate, call attention to, charge, correct, counsel, enjoin, exhort, give advice, give counsel, give notice, inform, instruct, offer counsel, prescribe, propound, recommend, suggest, and urge. It also goes on. That's under the spirit of advisement, if you will. Also, it does say, and I want to be fair about this, it says, under warning, it defines admonishment as follows. A warning, a rebuke, advice against, caution, censure, counsel against, depreciate, deprecate, exhort, forewarn, give warning, so I guess, my fellow council members, I would urge us to try to make this an experience that doesn't happen again, obviously. But I think if we should choose I would advise us, I encourage us to, I would hope that we would find the spirit of counsel and advice rather than censure or rebuke. I don't think that's, I think that's not what the Code of Ethics panel would have us do, but I just want to put that out for us to seek a higher road here than a lesser so. So that's what I have to say in this one. I would refer back to you guys. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to be clear with the council or with the city residents that are here tonight or members of our community, there's 4 things that we could address to Councilmember Kidd: admonition, reprimand, censure, or removal as deputy mayor, because that's the office she holds, as well as from different committees. Those are, again, all the things that are on our list here that we see in our council packet. Because this is actually something that's been addressed by our state legislature, who finds this very serious, I won't be supporting admonition. I would go a step further, and I would like to hear council comments on that, but admonition will not be sufficient for the law that has been broken by Councilmember Kidd.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Perry.
I also agree with this. She was at the helm of this meeting, and Ms. Kidd was at the helm of this meeting, and it ended something like which I never thought would occur here. I was astonished and in shock to see what happened. And in my opinion, that is not acceptable to me. Option number 1. And it's, the public is looking at us to act like adults. And when we don't get our way, that's not acting like an adult. You don't throw a fit. The actions of Miss Kidd preceded the rest of the actions that followed. I will not agree with Mr. Collins that I violated the Open Public Meetings Act. And again, I'd like the rest of my council members to weigh in on it, but I don't agree with admonition at all. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Mr. Boer, on the night in question, after the meeting was called adjourned by the deputy mayor, one of the things that took place, I got up and I walked over and I stopped at your area and I asked, can she do that? Is that legal for her to close the meeting? And the answer was yes, that's legal for her to close the meeting. I said thanks, and I walked out since the meeting was officially over. Now we're having accusations that not only she broke the Public Meetings Act, but is a criminal. And I'd like a clarification on that, because it's a total different concept from what Mr. Witham is implying, and I don't know who's right. I would love a clarification, please.
Well, again, assuming this is all premised on an assumption that there was a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, and that's not been established, and that's a whole different question, because that wasn't the issue that it was decided by Board of Ethics #1. So there was a complaint brought before Board of Ethics #1 against one single council member. It takes 4 council members to violate the Open Public Meetings Act. And so this discussion is premised on an assumption that there was a violation. That's not been established. There was a violation. If there were a violation, then what I told you earlier about the penalties for violation, there was a $500 fine that is possible, and and I did take a moment to look up the statute. And it does say that there is a $500 fine, and that it is not a criminal offense. Specifically says that in the statute.
Bill, maybe you've got the Open Public Meetings Act there available, but correct me if I'm wrong, our meeting was closed illegally. There are specific guidelines on how to handle a rude crowd, which weren't followed. We can close down this meeting and reconvene elsewhere. There was no comment whatsoever. The meeting was gavel closed, and Mr. Gates was told the meeting was closed down legally. There's a problem there.
Well, it is, he asked my opinion, and it is still my opinion that it was closed legally. Under the rules of procedure that existed at that time, they gave the chairperson of...
Rules of procedure or Open Public Meeting Acts, we're comparing apples to oranges here.
Well, the Open Public Meetings Act doesn't say anything about how the council...
It talks about reconvening elsewhere, to my knowledge.
It gives that option, it says it can be done. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Doesn't require it to be done, yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we get back to the thing that we have in front of us says that Ms. Kidd did violate the said code of ethical conduct. So it doesn't talk about the Meetings Act or anything else. It talks about that she violated the code of ethical conduct that we're talking, particularly such and such paragraph. And so that is, I think, dealing with the complaint, and therefore what the committee recommended is that she be orally admonished because of her violating this code of ethical conduct. So I don't know, I mean, I feel like we're getting a little bit far afield discussing the Public Acts meeting when it actually doesn't address specifically what this group did, what our ethical complaint was, and it deals specifically with this code of ethics. And it just says that she violated that one paragraph, and I don't have it exactly in front of me what that little paragraph says, but they recommend, so we're having, our panel recommend this oral admonition. So I would suggest that we would follow the recommendations, so that, like I said, in the other ethical complaint, it got dropped, it got dismissed, there was no findings. On this one, there was a finding, a violation, and then therefore, they recommend this form of, admission.
Yeah, as I understand it, and Cynthia, I think we are here tonight to discuss that, which is that specific recommendation. It's a very narrowly worded document. It's not intended to go beyond that. In fact, as I reread the attachment one, I'm looking at page I-9. I read through that again as I have several times. I read it again. It makes certain statements before the final. In fact, I'm going to just read a portion of it for the record and for the audience here this evening. I'm not going to read verbatim every part of it. So it comes down before the Board of Ethics, number one, having been duly appointed and qualified to hear and determine the complainants of Deputy Mayor Sherry Kidd, and having heard all of this in the matter and having considered the law applicable thereto, and having found by preponderance of the evidence that Ms. Kidd did violate the said code of ethics conduct, particularly section 2.78.050.J, February 2. They then submitted to us, support us, City Council's recommendation concerning the penalty to be entered in against Deputy Mayor Sherry Kidd, and to go on to compliment her in several words. Refer to her as Deputy Mayor in my absence, was acting as the presiding officer at the council meeting of February 2nd, and in that capacity she presided at the second public comment period of that meeting in an intense and politically charged atmosphere in which a volatile subject was addressed, and during which many members of the audience seemed to be in a hostile mood. Now, therefore, the board recommends that Deputy Mayor Kidd be orally admonished pursuant to the provisions of PMA-MC 2.78.080.C1. I'll go back to what I said in the beginning in my remarks. My interpretation, that they said that we should encourage better behavior, better direction, if you will, at the meeting. Things did come out here, obviously. I'm not a witness to it. I read what I've read in the paper, what I heard subsequent. But I think that's what we're going to do tonight, to support the recommendation, or not support the recommendation of Ethics Panel number 1, which, as I read to you just now, I don't feel a sense of rebuke and censure as much as I do an encouragement and counsel to do better next time. Lord bless you.